Came downstairs, pretty normal day, made myself coffee, had some toast, just about to walk out the door. Hand went on the door handle and I just froze.
Glenn, thanks for coming down today. I hope you enjoyed your trim.
It was lovely, yeah, really nice. For me personally, I think one of the greatest challenges, for men is silence, from everyone involved, not just, men that are going through things. Obviously, that's a big barrier for men is, being silent with stuff that's going in their lives, maybe be their mental health, negative thoughts, or, health problems. We hold on to things for far too long. But it's also the people around that man. A lot of people are too afraid to come forward and say to someone, you don't seem yourself. Is everything okay? And I think, having someone come and meet you in that space and ask that question is so important. I've had it in my life a few times where someone has asked me that question and it's made me stop and think and actually go, no, you're right. Actually, I'm not okay. I'm not all right at this moment. Can you help me? And it just goes to show, how important it is for people to check in on the men in their life and ask them, if things are okay. One of the most challenging times I had in my life was when I was 17 and my older brother, who's 2 years older than me, unfortunately we lost him to meningitis, and obviously that was devastating time in my life, and that happened in the April. And for some reason I took the decision in September to go away to university, and I didn't deal with all those horrible war emotions, the pain, the grief that I was going through, and I just bottled it all up inside, and I just ended up having a really, really horrible time with it. And then I thought I'd kind of dealt with it, but then further on in my life, those feelings resurfaced because I just tried to quiet them down, to push them down inside and carry on with things instead of actually dealing with them at the time. I think the reason I bottled, that up is because I had this image in my mind of what a man was. A man is supposed to deal with things, he doesn't let things get to him. He stays silent, he just carries on. That progressed further into my life. I met my wife, got married, and then things that had happened, I just thought, I've got to be a caregiver, I've got to be a protector, I've got to be this, that, the other, because that's what a man is. But that wasn't, really who I was. And so that juxtaposition between, trying to be someone I wasn't, not being true to myself, I think really caused me a lot of issues, and I think causes a lot of men issues, because they're not living their true authentic lives. They're trying to be this image of a man that society has put in their heads. I'd been through bereavement, losing my brother, started a job, and through that job I was lucky enough to meet a beautiful young woman who became my wife. I was on that this is what a man needs to do path. In the space of a year we got married, we bought a house, I got a promotion, we started trying for a family because that's what a man should do. And I kind of pushed all those thoughts, feelings, the negative thoughts, the grief, everything down deep inside. And one day I woke up for work, came downstairs, pretty normal day, made myself coffee, had some toast, just about to walk out the door. Hand went on the door handle and I just froze. So I tried to leave the house, another 2 or 3 times, but something just wouldn't let me. Pacing, back and forth in my living room, thinking what on earth is going on, and getting more and more agitated. And I ended up calling 111. I spoke to a really, really lovely nurse who was talking about, what was going on physically, what was going on in my head, and she actually, very importantly, said, "Is there anyone in the house with you?" I said, "Oh, my wife's upstairs in bed." She went, "Well, I think you're having a breakdown, so go, be with your wife, and then make sure she takes you to the doctor and get yourself sorted out. So I went upstairs, still full uniform, got into bed, hugged my wife, and then I think for the next half an hour, I was just crying in floods of tears. She was obviously terrified, being woken up by her husband, bawling his eyes out. Yeah, and it was just everything that I just suppressed for all those years, just in that moment, just came flooding out of me. Luckily, we had a really good GP, diagnosed with depression, obviously as a consequence of what I'd been suppressing for so long, was able to get the treatment that I needed. Especially for men, friendships are a really, really important thing, because I'm very lucky. I've got a beautifully loving, supporting family, so I'm very lucky in that aspect. But friends offer just something extra, something outside of that family unit for you to draw on. A lot of my friendships have changed over the years. I had a very close group of friends when I was at school, and then following the loss of my brother and then my subsequent breakdown when I was in my mid-20s. A few of those friendships, changed, attitudes towards me changed, people wouldn't tell me stuff. I know because they were trying to protect me, but it kind of got to a point where those friendships had changed so much, I couldn't focus on those for my own personal well-being. I started becoming quite selective about the friendships that I did make, and the ones that I have, even from that time, and the new ones that I've made now are really important to me, because those people now accept me as my authentic self, the person that I am now, having gone through all those issues. And that's really important, because I know I can be myself. I don't have to put up an image, to have those friendships. Funny enough, and this is something that still to this day I find a bit strange, because I never thought that this place would be the place that would be one of the most supportive areas for my mental health is my rugby club, Medway Rugby Club. So when I was asked to become a Movember ambassador, I felt that I had a responsibility to share my story with people. So I recorded a video of myself just talking about what I'd been through and how living with depression and anxiety had affected different parts of my life, and then just put that out on the internet for everyone to see. The response that I got the next time that I went to the rugby club was amazing. So much support, so much positivity, and then off the back of that, a lot of conversations, guys coming up to me, asking if I'd meet them to go for a walk, go for a pint, so they could talk about what they were going through themselves. And then it's just kind of grown and grown from there. They've then taken that message on into their own communities, their workplaces, and really encouraged other guys to open up and talk about what they're going through. I think it's kind of ingrained into people this image of what a man is and what a man, and I hate the word should do, and I think that has become one of my greatest bugbears over the years, is that word should. A man should be strong, he should be the breadwinner, he should be the alpha. But there's space for lots of different men to be themselves. There's no one right way to be a man. We see these, the images, you get them on social media, you see them in movies, everywhere, adverts, especially for young men. I'm a bit past it now, but I found that growing up. You are constantly bombarded, and now, with social media being so prevalent, with this image of what a man is, and not so much with, okay, this is one type of man, but you can be this type of man too, or this type of man. And they're still relevant, they're still important, because I think if you get fixated on that one archetype, you miss out on so much. And it's really, I don't want to be in a group of friends that are all one type. I find that very boring. I want to surround myself with lots of different types of men who have different views, who have different approaches, because it just makes life so much more interesting. It seems really strange to say this because, I grew up with a really supportive family. I've got a fantastic wife, got really good friends now. But in the back of your head, it's that fear of judgment. Is what are people going to think of me if I admit this weakness? And that, I think, is a massive, massive thing that a lot of men find really hard to overcome, is that fear of judgment. What will this mean for my relationships? What will this mean for my friendships? What will this mean for work? If I go into work and, say to them, look, I'm really struggling with my mental health. I'm having, dark thoughts, negative thoughts. What is going to be the consequence of that? Am I still going to have a job? And that's something I thought about. Am I going to be able to work? So there's a lot of fear from judgment. I think is a big step for men to overcome. Reach out. Reach out. And I know this. People say this all the time. If you're struggling, reach out. And it is so difficult. I know, how difficult that first step to take is. But once you've taken that first step, the second, the third, the fourth step are so much easier. And there are so many, support groups, phone lines, text messaging groups, emails, online, in person. There is so much support out there that you can find the group, the people, that will help you get through your particular issue. There are so many people out there that care about you, that want you to still be here, that feel that you're important, that you're vital to be around. And I've felt that before in the past. No one, everyone would be better off if I wasn't here. And I know there's a lot of men that have that thought, and it's just simply not true. The world, your community, your family, your friends, they are better off with you in the world. What I do for my own sort of mental health is I've got a few bits and pieces that I like to do. Obviously, spending time with friends and family is really important. I have quite a bit of social anxiety, but then juxtaposed with that is I find being amongst people actually helps my mental health, and it's got to be the right people, obviously. Getting out in nature is really helpful. Just 10-20 minutes amongst trees. It just sounds strange, but it just brings me an enormous sense of well-being. My kind of left field one is ice baths, which I kind of got into last Movember as a jokey sort of challenge. I thought, well, that will be a good thing to do to get some awareness and fundraising. But I've actually found that they're really helpful, and so I've got into a routine now where I come in from work, I say hello to my wife, to my daughter, and then immediately go and I have 10 minutes in the ice bath in the garden, and that's my time. That's that one bit of me time, and it really helps with that transition from work Glen to home Glen. Just to have those 10 minutes just to, if I've had a rubbish day at work, just decompress, give myself that space to just breathe. And the great thing about the ice bath is the water is so cold you haven't got a chance to even think about anything else that's going on, because you're just concentrating on how absolutely freezing you are. Be you, I think, is the biggest bit of advice, because people like you, they like who you are, what you're into, what you bring to the table. Don't spend all that time trying to be someone that you're not, because it will just make you miserable. Yeah, so if I could grab hold of young Glenn, that's what I'd tell him. It's like, just be you. I think spaces like Ted's Grooming Room and other spaces where men can open up with their peers are absolutely vital, especially at the moment. I just think that men are going through a period of time where they really don't feel that they can open up publicly about different aspects that are going on, and so to have safe spaces like this, I think, are really important, because it's non-judgmental. You can open up, you can share, and you can just open up that release valve. Just having the haircut and shave upstairs, and just having that time to just sit, relax, not think about anything, not worry about anything. Or it's just helps lighten the load, even just for a little while. And it's really important to find those spaces and have that release at certain periods, so that pressure doesn't build up too much. I have to say, my favourite moustache, because it was ever present when I was growing up, has to be the Tom Selleck Magnum PI. Not just for Tom Selleck, but because my dad, when I was growing up, sported that moustache. And I just remember growing up when I was a little boy, looking at him and seeing that moustache and thinking he was the coolest guy ever. So, ever since I was old enough to grow one myself, it's definitely been an aim in my life, is to replicate, my dad sporting the Tom Selleck.